Welcome to Women's Empowerment. I'm your host, Sonia West. Today in the studio we have Inspector Colleen Yee from the Vancouver Police Department. Welcome, Inspector.
Thank you, Sonia. I'm really happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So we have this segment on women's empowerment and strong women that are in our community that are guiding women to become stronger. So tell us about your journey in becoming an inspector with the Vancouver Police Department.
Well, I can, if you like, I can start a little bit earlier than that.
Sure.
To talk
Your
about
whole journey, yeah.
how my journey happened and who influenced me.
Of course.
To the point where it, impacted my career choice.
Okay.
So, growing up, I am a first-generational Chinese citizen. Parents were immigrants,
Okay.
came over from China and Hong Kong. Very stereotypically almost, grew up in a small town. Mom and dad had a Chinese food restaurant. My parents didn't speak English very well. My grandma definitely didn't speak English. So being the translator, being the liaison, the negotiators and certain things. So
Yeah.
there's all these sort of building blocks and traits that were being formulated right from a very early age.
Right. You probably heard me laugh a little bit there,
Yeah.
just because I now think of the role you're in, and it's just like you were getting ready for that role all along.
It feels like it, because it's funny, because now, being a police officer for almost 28 years,
Wow.
policing was never even a career I considered
Okay.
growing up.
Right.
So,
What did you want to be, Colleen?
Well, I wasn't quite sure. I know my mom and dad wanted me to be a doctor.
Yes.
Like
As Asian parents.
As Asian
always
parents do,
do.
right? But what the funny thing is, as a Asian child growing up in a traditional Asian family, I never learned how to play the piano nor the violin. I was never good at math.
Right. That's nobody, me either.
Right?
Yeah.
So all those things that we were supposed to be good at never was.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, doctor, something in business, lawyer maybe,
Right.
all those kind of traditional things.
Right.
I thought, yeah, maybe medicine, but that wasn't what sort of resonated with me. So I didn't really know. But in high school, I had some amazing teachers.
Okay.
And I remember the feelings that they imparted upon me on as I developed and was trying to find myself through those awkward adolescent years.
Yeah.
And how they were so, again, important in providing stability in a safe place and validation and encouragement. I thought, maybe I can be a teacher.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? So then it wasn't until I was in university and after my first year of, in sciences,
Right.
I realized it wasn't for me.
Yeah.
And the University of British Columbia said, it's not for you.
Yeah. They validated that. You're like,
Oh,
no.
they
Right.
completely confirmed that first year sciences was not for me.
You're so funny. Okay.
So I eventually went back and I got my degree in sociology.
Okay.
And I thought, yep, sociology was really interesting. Had to deal with people, understanding people, how societies came to be, all that sort of
Right.
really cool stuff.
Yeah.
And I thought, yep, you know what? I'm going to get my sociology degree, get my teacher's certificate, and I'll teach social studies and coach volleyball for the rest of my life.
Right.
Done.
Done.
Right?
Yeah. No, not
No,
done.
Not so much. So, again, when you're going through school, in
Yeah.
the summertime, you have to work, right?
Yeah.
And
Part-time job.
Part-time job or full-time to either make tuition or help with tuition or pay for your spending money. And in
Right.
my case, my parents, they worked so hard to put all of us through school.
Yeah.
Again, like many Asian parents that can.
Yep.
And those that want to, they want to ensure that when their children finish their education, that they don't start life off in debt.
Right. Of
Right.
course. Yep. Yeah.
So-
Totally get it.
So the sacrifices my parents made for my siblings and I, like when we look back now and we're like, how did they do it?
Yes.
So, but during the summer months, I was responsible for making money for my spending during the
Right.
school year.
Okay.
They'll pay for schooling, they paid for, housing, but whatever else I wanted, that was mine. So because I knew the restaurant business, historically, I did restaurant work.
Okay.
So at first I was, out front doing service, waitressing, but then I moved into the back where I felt I had more control about the food, and I enjoyed that much more.
Okay.
Final year of university, come back for the term, and a friend of mine this summer before had participated in this Vancouver Police Department ride-along program.
Okay.
And he was so excited. He came in first day of our sociology, anthropology committee meeting, he's like, Colleen, you can't go and work in a restaurant this year. I was in this job this past summer. It was amazing. The Vancouver Police Department had this program going on. They hired me. All I did was ride along with the police all summer long, and they paid me.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
It's a sweet gig.
well, that's a sweet gig. They paid you for riding along.
Right.
And he goes, yeah. And I thought, well, if I don't have to sweat it out in the kitchen and deal with difficult staff, I'm like, yeah, I'll consider it. So again, fast forward, summer comes. I apply for this. The program was still going. So I applied for it.
Yeah.
And they called me in for an interview. And again, remember, I had no inclination of being a police officer. I just didn't want to work in the kitchen
That's right.
for the summer.
Okay.
And this lovely sergeant interviewed me, and we're going through this big long list of all these questions and security questions and all lifestyle questions. And at the very last line, he says, so Colleen, you have aspirations and goals of wanting to be a police officer? So this is where this program was in place, because they wanted to encourage women
Right.
and visible minorities to consider policing as a career.
Yes.
So
I
this
remember
was-
that time.
right?
I remember that time. Yeah.
So it was an outreach thing.
Right.
So when it came to that question, I looked at it and I looked at him and go, no.
Oh, you did?
Yep. Because
Oh, wow.
we're supposed to be honest.
You're
And
like,
he's
I just want to ride along.
yeah, and not work in the kitchen.
That's right. That's right.
And so he says, oh, how about just for this application you do want to?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, sure, okay. So
Right.
so we did, and I got hired because
Yeah.
they did and so that summer.
That's crazy.
It was crazy. But the summer was crazy because I had no idea the parallel universe that existed in line with my normal everyday life that I lived. Because
Okay.
on this job, I am riding around with police officers, men and women, who before, when I looked at them, they were just a uniform. They were
Right.
just this authority figure. And as a kid, a teenager, they were an annoyance because they used to
Yes,
come and
it's the
disrupt our...
cops.
Right, it's the cops.
Yeah.
They come and disrupt your party, and they might go tell my parents that I was, misbehaving or whatever. They were
Right.
an annoyance.
Yeah.
And they pulled you over speeding.
That's
so there
right.
was always this sort of perception I had of them. But when I was on this program, this ride-along program, I rode around with men and women who were remarkable in so many ways. They were funny, they were strong, they were compassionate, they were smart, they were brave, and they were dealing with these situations that, sometimes you would only see on TV or hear or read about in a newspaper back then when we had newspapers.
Yes.
And I thought, whoa, and some of the experiences that we went to, some of the calls, I thought, this is insane. This is happening right here, right now in the city.
Right. So you found it exciting.
I found it exciting, and I found it awe-inspiring and sometimes horrific.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, this is going to be on the news tonight. Oh, when I get home, this is definitely going to be on the news tonight. And when I get home, nothing's mentioned about anything that I saw that day. The stabbing that I was at, or this horrendous incident that I attended, or this individual that we arrested for, these horrible crimes. None of it was on the news.
Right.
And I thought, oh my gosh, all of this was happening and regular people were just living their lives.
Right.
And these police officers sort of stood in between this chaos and all this darkness so that these normal people or these regular people could live their lives.
So really, they are protecting you. You just don't know all the details of what they're going through.
Which I found mind-blowing.
Yeah.
And then seeing how these people interacted with each other, how every day there was this chance that when they walked outside the doors of their office
Yeah.
and got into their cars, they might not come back.
That's scary.
But they accepted that risk.
Right.
And then there was this camaraderie, this brotherhood, sisterhood, where because they knew that of each other, there was this bond, because there might be a time where they would put their own lives on the line for each other.
Right.
And that they would put their own lives on the line for people they didn't even know.
Right.
And that resonated with me.
Yeah. So would you say that, when we talk about you being a strong woman and in your role as an inspector, all of that, initially, obviously, your grandmother was a big influence, but also the support of your father also encouraged you to become a strong woman?
Absolutely. My father was always very encouraging. He was a quiet supporter.
Okay.
My father is not a very overt man in any ways. He's a very pacifist. He's a pacifist. does not like the idea of violence whatsoever, a very peaceful man.
Right.
So you're right. My father, my grandmother, some significant high school teachers, they were
Right.
all cornerstones in the foundation from which I was able to sort of launch from.
Okay, I have a question for you. So when we talk about strong women and, you know, you being with the Vancouver Police Department, there's a lot of training that you've learned to defend yourself and make sure that you're able to, you know, take care of yourself, but also the women that you can guide in learning how to defend themselves. There's a program that you're part of.
Absolutely.
So tell us about that, and I do want to show a clip of it. So tell us about it, and
All
then
right.
we'll show the clip.
Sure. So growing up, I was always a martial arts enthusiast.
Okay.
So I started doing martial arts probably around the time of 13. So moved my way through all various different martial arts. And when I got onto the police department, I had skill sets that could marry really well. Once I was in the police department, taking those skill sets, the department recognized that I could probably add value to our force options training unit.
Okay.
So I became a part-time instructor with that unit that taught policemen and women how to use force appropriately, everything from verbal de-escalation to the use of deadly force.
Wow.
I was part of that team up until recently, until I got promoted to inspector, and then, you know, had to let that part go.
Okay.
However, during my time as a sergeant, the department wanted to put on a women's personal safety fair
Okay.
in the community.
Right.
They wanted to provide women in the community different types of resources that they could access should they ever find themselves at the receiving end of crime. Doesn't matter what kind of crime.
Right.
So at this fair, they thought, wouldn't it be a great idea if we had a women's self-defense component to it?
Yes.
So they approached me. I wasn't even, I was working in a completely unrelated section, but they knew what my background was and they knew my involvement in the Tactical Training Center.
Okay.
And they said, Colleen, can you put together a basic self-defense portion for this fair? And I thought, yeah, I could, but you know, who would be interested in that?
Okay.
So myself and the sergeant in charge of the training centers put together a very basic program. I went around and I voluntold 3 other people that they were going to help me this day,
Okay.
my sister included.
Yes.
And we put on this workshop at this fair. Thousands of women showed up for the fair. A bunch of people, you know, our time slot was 2 o'clock that day. It was at Trout Lake Community Center,
Okay.
2012.
Yep.
We set up our little screen, chairs, PowerPoint, and the doors open at 2 o'clock, and we're standing there waiting, and for this heartbeat of a moment, nobody came through the door.
Oh no.
And we're like, oh, we're losers.
Uh,
And then 60 women came through that door.
60 women.
All ages, all different ethnic backgrounds, cultural backgrounds. And they sat in that chair, and for the next hour and 45 minutes, we presented this information.
Okay.
The response to that was overwhelming. They wouldn't leave after. They wanted to know more, and they wanted
Right.
to find out where they could learn more. And my counterpart, now retired Sergeant Clive Milligan, he said, well, we as a department can't, you know, offer these women anything more than what we did today because we don't have the resources.
Right.
And I thought, okay, one shot, that's nice. We go back to our regular duties, our regular lives. The phone calls and the emails just kept coming from
Right.
women in the community.
Okay.
We heard about this, or we were at this, where can we get more? I thought, this is crazy. I never realized there was such a demand, how many women wanted to learn this stuff. So
Right.
I said to my sister, I go, I'm going to tweak this program.
Okay.
We tweaked it some more, and I said, let's go find some people. I go, this is my idea. We create this program, we present it to women in the community,
Yeah.
we do it for free.
Amazing.
And my sister Alice said, okay. So we went out. I
Yeah.
found 16 other police women, various ages, ethnic backgrounds, different cultural, you know, diverse, different experiences in the department, all who were credible, tactical people when they were operationally on the road.
Okay.
The majority of us had been in, you know, physical confrontations where either we had been, you know, shot at, stabbed at, you know, assaulted, or we, you know.
Yeah.
So these women knew their stuff.
Right.
And I pitched this program to them.
Yep.
And they said, oh, this sounds great. And I said, I go, but it's on volunteer time.
Right.
So then I expected them to say, oh, yeah, you know what, can't,
Yeah, I want
right?
it paid. Right. Right.
Right. Every single one of them said, yes, we're in.
That's amazing.
So
So that
2013.
program that started in 2013 and it's still going on.
2013 to this date, I have now over almost 30 police women on this team. all
Okay.
themselves heard about us, wanted to be a part of us, vetted through us, trained and certified through me.
Yep.
And we've presented this program now to over 6,000 women.
Wow, that's amazing. So because that program is something that's very valuable to our viewers as well, I want to show a clip of that right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
No. No. Stay away from me. Central!
So that clip is actually very powerful, and the people that are watching can actually contact you with all the information at the bottom of the screen, so
Absolutely.
that they can also become a part of it and become stronger as well. So tell us some testimonials you were just mentioning.
So again, this program has been presented to 6,000 women,
Yes.
all walks of life. And as a result of that, women have come forward to share some of their own personal stories with us.
Okay.
We've had many women who have been involved in domestic violence situations, and they didn't know how to get out, and they didn't know how to protect themselves. And because of our workshop, they found the courage, they found the strength, and they learned the concepts on how to protect themselves and how to get out of that situation.
Right.
We've had elderly people who were attacked on the street, and because of what they learned, they came back and they told us that because of what they learned, how we taught it,
Yeah.
from their mouths to our ears, it saved their lives.
That's amazing. So not only is it women's empowerment, it's just making the whole society stronger, and honestly, encouraging women to know that they can develop the skills they need to be just as strong as anyone else.
And do you know what the important thing coupling that is, Sonia, is that not only are we helping women realize that they can do it,
Yeah.
but helping women realize that they have the right to be safe, and they have the right to protect themselves.
Yes.
I see that when I deliver that message, how many faces in the audience oftentimes will go, "Oh my goodness,
We
I
have
never
the
thought
right."
about it that way."
Yes.
Women need to understand their value.
Yeah.
They need to own the space that they occupy and not be sorry for it. They should be seen and they should be heard.
That's very powerful and very true. Yeah, why not? Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Inspector Colleen Yee.
Thank you for having me again.
Thank you. So that was our segment today of Women's Empowerment. Join us again on Sanjha TV.